All right, we got some great things to talk about on our show this week. We had an entertaining week of basketball, 3 games to talk about. We had the Sacramento Kings, the Denver Nuggets, and the Houston Rockets. And there are 3 things that we want to cover in this episode of our podcast. That is ejections, milestones, and blowouts. So stay tuned. We're going to hit all those topics in this podcast, and we're super excited to cover this last week of Jazz basketball. One thing that we did want to mention as well is, remember, we are doing, for every subscriber to our channel from now until the end of the year, we're going to donate $1 to Five for the Fight, which is the nonprofit organization that Ryan Smith has set up. And right now we're up to 52 subscribers. So thank you so much. We're up to $52 that we're going to be donating to Five for the Fight. And we hope that number just keeps climbing. So thank you again for those who have subscribed already. And if you haven't, hit that subscribe button. It goes towards a great cause, as well as hit the notification bell. And then anytime you can like, comment, leave us some feedback, ask us some questions, we'll make sure we address those in the next show. Okay, first game we've got to cover today is the Sacramento Kings game. It feels like forever ago. We're like barely in the season, but I feel like it's like mid-season.
Yeah, I did not think that. I figured we had covered that last week.
Yeah. No, so first game, Sacramento Kings game. And this is where the big thing for this game for me is like the ejection of Joe Ingles.
Yeah, the Kings not a good team. I thought the Jazz played poorly against them. Beating them by 9 is, it's a win, but I think that's a blowout game that should happen.
I will say that Harrison Barnes, though, the Sacramento Kings as a whole are better. Harrison Barnes, thoughts on, can he be an all-star candidate this year?
I think he's too inconsistent.
Okay.
I don't see, he's on a very crappy team, so that helps, number one. I just don't see him putting up consistent numbers like that to where, and second to that, regardless of how well he plays, it's Harrison Barnes. I don't think the Sacramento King community is, big enough. I just don't see him being chosen as an all-star either.
Yeah. Well, he did have that game winner. That was impressive.
Yeah.
But, that was a different game. So on Joe Ingles, Davion Mitchell goes up. We think Rookie of the Year candidate. We talked about that in one of our previous shows. He goes up for a dunk. Joe Ingles, you can tell at first he's trying to run up and get the foul, and last second he decides to oh crap, I'm not going to get there.
Try and stop himself.
Tries to stop himself
Slow-mo
from
Joe.
fouling. Yes, turns himself into slow motion, puts his hands behind his back, and tries to run by the backside of Mitchell, but Mitchell kicks his legs out to have a highlight dunk.
He kicks his legs out, jumps from clear far out too.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, I don't think Joe Ingles thought he was going to jump from that far out.
Yeah.
He jumped from... I was shocked when he started that dunk. He was a ways out there, and then, kicked his legs out. Had he just gone up for a normal dunk, Joe Ingles would not have been close to hitting him.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. So what are your thoughts? You're a referee in that situation. What do you call?
I mean, I'm fine with the, flagrant foul, but in no way should he have been ejected.
Yeah, I kind of had the same thought. I thought a flagrant one was a good... I think everybody in the arena and everybody watching that game, at home, Jazz fans, would have thought flagrant one, yeah, okay, that's probably warranted, right?
Yeah.
It was excessive, but it wasn't intentionally excessive.
No, in no way did he mean to do that. And you could tell by the look on his face after it happened. He was like, oh, shoot.
Well, and he multiple times then went and checked on Davion Mitchell, right? And was just like, hey, you okay, man? My bad, right? You could tell it was not malicious in any way.
No.
So Joe gets ejected. Game is terribly sloppy. I mean, it was an ugly game. I know that as far as box scores go, Donovan ends up with 27 points. Gobert has another great night with 17 points, 20 rebounds.
Let's also talk real quick. Donovan Mitchell, 3-point attempts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he had 27 points that game. He's 9 for 25 from the field, 6 of 14 from 3.
So that's what's just amazing to me. And every one of his stats have been like that this year. if we were to take out his 3-point percentage, his 2-point percentage is fantastic.
Yeah.
His mid-range game, creating space on that pick and roll and just pulling up, amazing. But a lot of those 3-pointers I feel like are forced. Yeah, you hit 6 of them. I still don't think the percentage is horrible on 6 for 14, but that's just a lot of threes to throw up when you're not.
43% from 3-point line. It is a lot of threes going up, but if you're hitting 43% of them,
keep shooting. It's just so many.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. I mean, and again, plus minus wise, it's kind of funny to me that in this game, Rudy Gobert was a -9, which is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, because he went 17 and 14.
Yeah. No, 17 and 20.
Oh, yeah, that's defensive rebounds. 6 offensive rebounds, 17 and 20.
Yeah. So,
4 turnovers, though, for him, which is, as your center, like, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. Whiteside, though, this game, too, went 8 points, 9 rebounds. So, I mean, any night you can get Whiteside and Gobert both with a double-double.
Well, and Whiteside's plus minus.
Yeah, Whiteside was a plus 18.
Which is tied for number one with Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, for that game.
Yeah.
No, thus far I've been super excited with Whiteside. So wrapping up the Sacramento Kings game, because I just really don't feel like there's a lot to talk about in that game. I mean, it was an ugly game. It was on the road. The Jazz managed to pull out a win when they were supposed to win that game.
Yeah.
It was ugly, but at the end of the season, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care if it was pretty or not.
Yeah.
But it was a win. It was a win they were supposed to have. They managed to do it. Good test early on, right, to see what kind of mental fortitude we have as a team. And I think they did show their mentality of, hey, we lost Joe early on in the game. Big deal. We're still going to win this game because we're supposed to win it.
Yeah.
So, so moving on, though, talking about Whiteside, he's our next ejection. We have to talk about.
2 back-to-back.
So, I know, right? So moving on then to the Denver game.
Oh, so soft.
I know. Like, can you believe how crazy it is? Like how soft the NBA is. I can't believe you give a double technical on that and eject both guys for that. Like, they pushed each other.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Well, they like brushed shoulders. Hassan Whiteside barely made contact on the push, too. It wasn't even like a hard push.
Yeah.
And they broke it up immediately. They were fine. Who was that against that it was some
Green.
Yeah.
What I can't remember his first name now.
There's 2 Jay Greens on the.
Yeah. Let's see. It's not Jeff Green. They've got.
Yeah, Jamichael. That's who it is.
Jamichael.
Yeah. Some no name. He had 0 points that game.
Yeah.
3 rebounds. And played 19 minutes. So,
and they were getting chippy with each other.
Yeah.
But again, neither one of them had done anything up to that point that was like over the top.
No. I don't know. That was soft. Just a little altercation there. Nobody cares about. Well, and in my opinion, I'm like, what is Jamichael Green talking trash for?
Yeah.
Dude, you're averaging 3.5 points, 2 rebounds, and 0.5 assists, and it's not like his minutes are bad.
Yeah. That guy's just a he's a space filler.
Yeah.
When Jokic needs a little space, he goes out there, or needs a little breather, he goes out there and provides that.
And stands on the court and doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Besides talk trash, unwarranted trash.
Yeah. So that covers our ejections. Again, I thought that was a little over the top and a little dumb that they ejected both those guys. Like, technical to both of them, yeah, sure, but a double tech, come on. And honestly, for me, I feel bad. Like, now both those guys got to pay these huge fines because they got 2 Ts.
Yeah, Hassan Whiteside with his pass, I'm sure he has some money in the bank. Jamichael Green, though, sorry,
somebody's going to need to pay those Ts for him.
Yeah.
That game, though, against Denver, a couple other things we wanted to hit on that. There were a couple milestones, couple career marks for a few different guys. Joe Ingles first. In that game, he hit his 1,000th, right?
1,003, yeah.
Not number 1,003, 3-pointer made. So he already was at the top of the list for the Jazz for all-time threes made. However, hitting that benchmark
first one
of
ever hit
1,000,
that. That's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. In that game, Joe from the 3-point line goes 3 for 5, 60%. What do you think about Joe's performance so far this year?
consistently mediocre,
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing. It's nice when you have guys like Jordan Clarkson, Donovan Mitchell, Bogdanovich, who aren't consistent every game. We don't know exactly what we're going to get shooting percentage wise from them. Joe Ingles and Mike Conley, it's nice to know that for the most part, when they come into play, they're going to be hitting threes.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, he's consistently mediocre, which is just fine. I mean, 13 points, that's just fine. That's what he finished with against
4
Denver.
assists, 5 rebounds. Like, that's a good stat line.
Yeah, like that's totally fine considering that at this point, when the Jazz are healthy, he's probably 7th, 8th, maybe even 8th man.
Yeah, you got Jordan Clarkson 6th. I mean, I would even argue like Hassan Whiteside.
That's what I was
going to
say. Is Whiteside your 7th guy now at this point?
Yeah.
Like, I know Joe scores more than him, but I honestly think Whiteside probably affects the game more than Joe Ingles does at this point.
Yeah.
So
I am just amazed at the difference though between Rudy Gobert and Hassan Whiteside when in the game, because I saw Hassan Whiteside playing, in the key and stuff, and there's just a huge just downgrade interior defense wise. But then you look at the stats, and he still alters shots so much, and it just goes to prove how good Rudy Gobert is defensively.
Yes, it is Hassan Whiteside is a step down from Rudy Gobert, no doubt about it. However, I think he's at the beginning of the season, I never thought I would have said this.
Major improvement from Derek Favors.
Yeah. Like, I love Derek Favors. Derek Favors is a great guy. Last year he just showed, he's old, he's lost a step, he doesn't have his bounce anymore. But Whiteside comes in, and I thought Whiteside was going to be the same thing. I thought Whiteside was going to be a bust. I thought he was going to be one where everybody had high expectations, high hopes for him, and he was going to come in and just like be nothing. Because last year, I mean, he didn't even see the floor. There were so many DNPs, did not play, coach's decision when he was with Sacramento. But this year, man, I'm like, dude, get this guy more minutes.
Well, yeah, I think there's a huge problem in, number one, teams like Sacramento. There's just some organizations in the NBA where I think they really do poorly to veterans and stuff. And guys like that, like Hassan Whiteside, coming into it, I had not high expectations by any means, but I was excited because I thought there might be a spark of what we saw in Miami. And I think his age, we're not going to see the jumping, in Miami, he was a stud,
Yeah.
But I have been impressed, like you said, with what he's been able to put up so far for the Jazz. And going forward will definitely be key in backing up Rudy Gobert. So when Rudy's in foul trouble, like that was a huge deal last year. Like when Rudy was in foul trouble, it was like, oh great, like there goes our defense.
Yeah.
But and obviously there's a downgrade to Hassan Whiteside, but not near as bad as it was, like I said, with Derek Favors.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, talking about these, the last game and then this game, I mean, he's still in the positive when you come on the plus minus. And if you can get that from the backup to Rudy Gobert to stay in the positive, big deal. It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
The other thing,
the bench that game.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very impressive. And speaking of the bench, that's the other milestone we had here with Jordan Clarkson hitting 8,000 career points. But yeah, continue on. Your thoughts on the bench play against Denver.
So plus 19 for Jordan Clarkson, which that's a huge plus minus. By far led the team. The next closest was plus 16 for Joe Ingles and Eric Pascal. And
both bench guys.
Yeah, both bench guys. And then the next guy is Mike Conley with plus 12. So like those are some big differences in your plus minus.
Those three guys coming off the bench.
Jordan Clarkson, I can kind of expect that from, because when he gets hot, he's hot. Like it's fun to watch.
Flamethrower.
Yeah. But Eric Pascal, so Jordan Clarkson has 24 minutes, Joe Ingles has 28 minutes that game. They go plus 19 and plus 16. Eric Pascal, 14 minutes, goes plus 16 with 0 points.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I've been talking with a few people about Pascal. In my opinion, he is a very similar player to Jay Crowder in that he brings the toughness and the defense, and he's a bigger body, right? Can guard like 1 through 5. But I think, in my opinion, he fits into the system way better than Crowder.
And so much smarter of a player.
Yeah.
His basketball IQ is way better than Jay Crowder's. Jay Crowder's biggest problem was he was similar to Bogdanovich. Bogdanovich is way more skilled, so you don't see it as much. But like Jay Crowder's shot selection,
Yeah. I feel like Jay Crowder was in the game to get his, and he was going to get his shots up, whether it was in the flow of the offense or not. Jay Crowder was going to get it.
Yeah, there were some shots he took that. And moving on, but Eric Pascal shoots one shot, so in 14 minutes puts up 1 3, and he's not a terrible 3-point shooter. I would compare him to Jay Crowder in his 3-point shooting ability. I think Jay Crowder can get hot a lot better than Eric Pascal can. But 4 rebounds, a couple assists. So stat-wise, he just does not look that great, but a plus 16. And I think just defensively, what he gives you is you don't see what he does on the stat sheet.
Yeah. Other thing I wanted to talk about this game, Nicola Yokic, MVP, last year candidate. Again, this year, he's looking really good. He is, man. He is soft, but he goes down first half, right? Bangs his knee. Rudy Gobert tries to do a spin move. They bump knees. He goes down. He's yelling.
Screaming on the ground. And if you have ever played basketball, you do this like at least once a month where you hit another guy's knee and it hurts.
Yeah.
And like getting subbed out, totally like understand. Okay. You'd be on the ground for a couple, like, I'm not even going to say a couple minutes, 15 seconds. Like you're like oh my gosh, that hurt.
Yeah, it hurts. You ask to come out, but that's about it.
And
right?
you're out for like a minute or two, and if you just walk on it,
you throw some icy hot on it.
You throw icy hot on it, and it's fine. Like
yeah.
Screaming in pain, like he just shattered his kneecap, and then sitting out the rest of the game. And I love how they say knee contusion. Like contusion, making the bruise seem a lot worse than it is by calling it a contusion.
Well, and the thing that was funny to me is. So here's my thought, right? Like, obviously, I'm not there. I don't know what's happening. And there are some crazy instances where, like, when Joe Ingles and Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs last year bumped knees, like, that didn't look bad either, but it turns out Kawhi tears his ACL on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so there are some instances where that happens. This one was obviously not that way.
They didn't even hit their knees very hard.
No. So he goes down and is yelling and screaming, right? I think at some point, here's what I think's happening. At some point, Jokic realizes, crap, I'm being way too dramatic about this, but there's no turning back now. So I'm going to act like this hurts so bad, and I'm just going to roll around, and when they come over and talk to me, we're going to just play this off like, oh man, this could be serious. And then they get up, they go into halftime, whatever, yada, yada, and him and Mike Malone discuss, hey, I can't look like a wimp, so I'm going to go out there and act like the tough guy who's going to play through the pain, and you got to come tell me I can't play anymore, right? Like, we got to get on the same page here, right?
Yeah.
I get being cautious and careful with your star player that you don't want him to be hurt. However, like, that was just way over the top. I felt like that was, like, totally scripted, all of it, and it was just, like, overly dramatic.
Ready for confession time for me here?
Yeah.
5th grade in a comp league.
Okay.
I go down, not very hard, and a kid like fell on top of my knee, kind of hurt, like not a big deal, but he was like staying on my knee, and it was one of my old teammates too, so like, and I hated the kid. So he's like on top of my knee, and it like was
5th grade hatred.
Yeah, and he was like pushing up on my knee and stuff, so it was kind of hurt, but it wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like shoved him off my knee, and the ref gave me a technical. Okay, so here's where this gets good. So I shove him off my knee, the ref tees me up, and I see that, and I'm like, oh great, like this is a close game. 4th quarter, I fake cry there, acting like he was like hurting my knee really bad. They sub me out for like 2 minutes. The ref takes the tee away because she was like, oh no, like he was getting hurt. That's why he shoved him off. They take the tee away. And then after a couple minutes, I come back on the floor, totally fine, didn't hurt at all.
Did you win?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. It was worth it. The NBA is going to turn into soccer. Where everybody's just going to flop and lay around, roll around, act like stuff.
Yeah.
So
and at least mine was to protect a technical.
You were trying to win.
His was like, oh, that was just soft. And I was in 5th grade. Okay, I wasn't a grown man.
Yeah. So that being said, let me see here. I'm just trying to pull up his numbers here. Jokic. So he only plays 15 minutes, and in 15 minutes he has 24 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. He was shooting 89% from the field, 100% from 3 for 3. If he stays and keeps playing that game, do the Jazz win?
Yes, I think so. I think the Jazz. So big reason why I think the Jazz this kind of skews the benches plus minus, and I think the bench played great, and I still think those numbers are like amazing. Bench wise, it seems like the Nuggets kind of gave up in the second half and were like, Will Barton just go like shoot a bunch of shots. Yeah, and luckily for them, he was on. Had he not been just went off in the third quarter, I think this would have been a blowout game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also might have to be why we see Jokic go out and stay out in the second half. That first half kind of sat out the first quarter. He was going off, and I think he was putting in a ton of effort into beating the Jazz. And I think the Nuggets, the Jazz like held the lead almost that entire game.
Yeah.
And he's playing amazing, and the Jazz still are holding a lead like the entire game. I think as a coach at that point, you're like, man, he might get hurt or whatever. Maybe we do keep him out. I'm not sure what the situation is there, but in my mind, like I said, knee contusion, he could have come back out and play.
Yeah, yeah.
And whether that's Jokic or the coach decision, I think the Jazz, and I don't think the Jazz played very well either.
No,
they didn't shoot the ball well. They shot 30% from three. Like I just don't think the Jazz played well, and they held a lead like the entire game.
Yeah. One thing that drove me nuts. So I agree. I think the Jazz still win that game, even if Jokic plays the second half. Reason being is guys like Will Barton and what's his name, Aaron Gordon, they don't end up taking near as many shots if Jokic is in the game.
No.
Right? So they don't get the numbers.
The game slows down way more when Jokic is in the game.
However, both of those guys, Aaron Gordon was dominating Bogdanovich.
Yeah.
Dominating him. At what point, if you're Bogey, do you have some pride and just be like, hey, I don't care if I foul this guy or what, but he's not scoring anymore.
He was just taking him down to the paint and just bully ball.
Yeah.
I'm your daddy type basketball.
I know. And at some point you would think that Bogdanovich would be like, okay, I'm not going to let this happen anymore. I really wish we would have put Pascal on him sooner.
Yeah. Once we threw Pascal on him, it seemed like I still think Aaron Gordon did a great job.
He still did good.
His turnaround fadeaway in the post looks amazing. But Pascal does a thing that Bogdanovich, in which we've talked about Bogdanovich's basketball IQ. Pascal sits off the three, and Aaron Gordon airballs a three. Bad airball.
Yeah.
So I think, we see Bogdanovich, again, an example of his basketball IQ, and his basketball IQ defensively and offensively is just not good. And that game, he goes -4. He's 1 for 5 from 3, 5 for 14 from the field. He has 15 points, but 4 of those are free throws. Again, 2 rebounds, no assists. Just inefficient and selfish.
Again, congrats, Joe. Congrats, Jordan Clarkson, hitting those milestones. So moving on, last point we wanted to talk about blowouts. Talking about the blowout win against Houston Rockets, right? In Houston, you head down there. You know they're a bad team. They're tanking. They're trying to lose, right? So you go down there with the mindset of, hey, we've got to come down in here and we've just got to take care of business. The Jazz should have won this game and they should have won it handedly. They did that, right? So no surprises here. However, the thing that I love to see in this one is looking at the starters' minutes. Mike Conley, 24 minutes. What'd I tell you? Yeah. I think he's going to average around 24 all season long. I think he
held that through those other 2 games as well.
Yeah. So Conley, 24 minutes. Rudy had 28 minutes. Donovan had 23 minutes. O'Neal had 23 minutes. And Bogey had 25 minutes. So no player on the Jazz team hits the 30-minute mark that game.
Yeah. And I looked at the other one. Mike Conley was around the 30-minute mark on those other 2 games, but but still, I'm with you.
Those games were a little bit closer. But, and we finally see Jared Butler getting his first career points in the regular season NBA.
Well, some actual minutes for once.
Some minutes that he could actually get into a rhythm.
Yeah.
So he finishes up with 4 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds.
So didn't I say 5 assists was my projection? Yeah. If he could get 10 minutes a game, he would average 5 assists.
Yeah. He ends up with 14 minutes, 4 assists, but is a plus 18, fourth best on the team that game.
Yeah. And Eric Pascal, 21 minutes, only a +5. Yeah, I think he does so much creating on the offensive side that you don't. Again, a lot of these things just don't show up on stat sheets. You have to be watching the game to understand his ability to get inside the key and slow down his dribble and just create for other guys. And he's not always going to get an assist from that because a lot of times it's a kick to the corner, one more pass.
Yeah, hockey assist.
Yeah. And so it's hard to know exactly what he does offensively. But I think in the future, this year, the Jazz are contenders. They're not worried about developing him necessarily. I think in the future, though, he could be a pretty good point guard.
Is he the future point guard for the Jazz when Mike Conley retires or leaves the team?
Ceiling for him, not as good Chris Paul. His play style is similar to Chris Paul in he can hit a jump shot, but that's not his primary focus. It's more to get inside, create shots for others, and I think he does a great job of that. I don't think he becomes this like franchise point guard though, where he's just incredible like Chris Paul is.
Yeah.
I think I could see him being a big sixth man, or even if he is your starting point guard, I get 12 points, a 12-point, 10 assist kind of guy, but in no ways he can be averaging 20 points. And
can his game complement Donovan Mitchell? I mean, how would those? That's one thing that I feel like we've yet to see is those two on the floor together very much, and I'd like to see a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think a big reason for that, Mike Conley and Jared Butler. I think Jared Butler, how tall is he?
Good question.
And I know Mike Conley's killer short too. Mike Conley might be shorter than Jared Butler, but there's something. Mike Conley's defense is underrated as well, and his hand speed to get on the ball, as well as I don't know what it is, but when he guards somebody, he is a great defender.
Yeah,
and I think Jared Butler and Donovan Mitchell on the floor at the same time, that defense just drops a little bit, and I think maybe that's why that we haven't seen as much of that. But
Butler's 6'2", 193.
Yeah, and Mike Conley is shorter than that, and I don't think weighs as much.
No, but he seems
quicker, and his defensive IQ, again, just intelligence and knowing where he needs to be, and it just goes a long ways.
How smooth is Mike Conley's game?
Yeah.
Like, even when he's not putting up these crazy numbers, it just seems like everything he does looks effortless.
I think that's just IQ.
The
smartest players make it look easy.
Yeah. The other thing on this game, I mean, Whiteside this game goes 10 points, 6 rebounds, but man, this guy had some dunks and some drop steps that I was just like,
there's the old Whiteside.
Like you're gonna get it. Like, and it's exciting to see this early on in the season. It's not like it's taking him a ton of time to get used to the offense and stuff. The one thing I would like to see from him, I don't feel you watch Rudy Gobert set a screen. Rudy Gobert's screens are felt.
Yeah,
I mean, he sets solid screens. Whiteside, I feel like he's releasing from the screen a bit early.
And a lot of that I feel like is effort. And I think Rudy Gobert is probably one of the, like, and I hate saying this, but hardest working players on the Jazz.
Rudy Gobert takes pride in what he does.
Yeah, and it shows. I think that's another reason why he's defensive player, 3-time defensive player of the year.
Mm-hmm.
His defense is just pretty much effort. Hassan Whiteside, I don't think cares as much. And I'm hoping, like you said, it's this early in the season, and we talked about this in preseason, how bad he was in preseason. I'm hoping that as the season goes on, he'll feel more of the love from the organization and from fans and stuff, and we'll see his love for basketball come back. And because even when he's playing well these past few games, it doesn't look like he really loves to be out on the court.
Yeah. So the Jazz, I mean, they finished this game 7 players in double figures. Everybody saw floor time because it was a blowout win. And like I said, I mean, the guy with the most minutes ends up being Rudy Gobert with 28 minutes. So, I think the Jazz need a few more games like this where they can come out, take care of business early, get a lot of bench time for these other players so we can get a little bit more development for guys like Jared Butler and even, Elijah Hughes. It's always good to see him get some minutes and some playing time. One thing that's really intriguing and interesting to me is here we are undefeated. I don't feel like we've had any real test, right? Like some fluky things happen against
we
Denver.
play the
like-
Nuggets, but Jokic is out for a big part of the game.
so I don't feel
also,
like
they don't have Murray.
No, yeah. So I don't feel like we've really been tested yet. I mean, yeah, we're undefeated. Big deal, right?
Yeah.
Like nothing's really happened yet. But I also think it's awesome that we're undefeated. And I don't feel like Donovan Mitchell
Hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah,
No.
which is crazy because I mean his stat lines have been just fine, but he is not. He seems to be in a shooting slump.
Yeah,
But he's, it doesn't matter because our team is just so good and so deep that Donovan can have multiple off nights and we can still win games.
yeah, and I'm not too worried about it because of number one, Quinn Snyder. I think he helps a lot with the guys who are in shooting slumps because I think he's so willing to just let his guys play. I think Quinn Snyder is just fantastic at that. As well as he keeps on putting up, when he's putting up 10, 14 shots a game, obviously that's not mental, and he just needs to, break out of this. It happens to every shooter.
Yeah.
I fully expect within the next couple of weeks, we'll see a great game from him where he goes off for 30, 40 points.
Yeah, I hope you're right because the next two games, tomorrow, Saturday,
Chicago,
and then Sunday, back to back, we go at Chicago, then at Milwaukee.
Chicago, Zach LaVine, that's going to be a good game. We should definitely beat them.
Well, I mean, they've got Levine, DeRozan, Lonzo Ball now, and who's the big guy? Vucevic?
Yeah,
That they just picked
a
up?
lot of those guys, I think DeRozan's still good. Vucevic is kind of on his downhill, I think. DeRozan's kind of on his, I don't know. I don't want to say downhill because he's still good.
Yeah. Chicago had their first loss last night in a last second. They had a chance to win the game winner, and they missed it.
Yeah.
Lost to New York.
I think Chicago will be really good in the East. I think when the Jazz play them, though, we should fully expect them to beat them. I think it'll be a huge disappointment if we lose. But like I said, a much better game, much better challenge. But I'm excited for the Milwaukee game. I just think the play style is so similar between the Bucks and the Jazz.
Who guards Giannis?
Royce O'Neal is so small. He
Mhm.
Again, great effort. Love the guy because he puts forth effort. But I think you got to go Eric Pascal.
Yeah, I think Royce will start on him. I think Pascal
Yeah.
will try and guard him a lot of the time. This is too, though, where I would be interested to see how Rudy Gay would do. Is he just too old to guard Giannis? But it would be interesting to see that matchup.
Yeah, depending on how Giannis is shooting, because his shooting is so up and down.
Mhm.
And it's getting better. Great. I love Giannis. That's great for him. Bad for the Jazz.
Yeah.
And anybody else in the league because that guy's nuts.
Yeah.
But his shooting's getting better, but still so inconsistent. If he's not hitting outside shots, throw Hassan Whiteside on him or Rudy.
Yeah, and just let him sag.
Yeah. It's when he's not hitting shots and we do that. Yeah, there's really nothing he can do. He draws a few fouls here and there, but we don't see that just absolute beast of a player in Giannis. Until he develops that outside shot, he's just never going to be unstoppable. Because right now, I think some games he's unstoppable, then other games it's like.
Okay, so here's what I want to wrap up the show with today. We've got these two games this weekend, like I said, back to back, Saturday, Sunday. Chicago, Milwaukee. Donovan Mitchell. Do you take the over or under that in both of these games he averages 30 points? That this weekend's his coming out party for the season and he averages 30 points between the two games. Over or under?
I think we're going to see more of a 25-point game, but I think there's going to be a little bit better efficiency there. And I think less threes shot, a little bit more aggressive going to the basket. And I know the three-point shot, statistically, is great, but his mid-range is money.
Yeah. Okay, so you say 25
Yeah.
points, so you're taking the under?
I'm taking the under.
I'll take the over.
Okay.
I'll take the over. Donovan Mitchell averages over 30 points these next two games. So thanks for tuning in. Again, if you guys have any questions that you'd like us to address, leave them in the comment section. Let us know what you thought of the show, what your predictions are for the Jazz this season, and thanks for watching.